Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Computer Classes by Rachna. Today we will be talking about the different types of arrays. Those who have not seen the previous video about arrays, they please go to my previous video where I have discussed all of these. What is an array, the definition of array, and what are the different types of arrays we will discuss today. So I'll just give a brief up of what is an array. It is a collection of values which are of same data type. It could be an integer array, it could be a character array, it could be floating point array. So only one type of values are stored in the array. All the elements of the array are referred to by the same name but different subscripts. As you can see in this is an array A and it is an integer array of 7 elements. It is declared as int A7 and the subscripts are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. The element is referred as A0 which is the first element, then A1 which is second element, then A2 which is third element, A3 which is fourth element, A4 which is fifth element, A5 which is sixth element, and then A6. So all these are the elements of the array which was referred to by the same name A and different subscripts. And the elements of the array, the third point says that the elements of the array are stored in continuous memory locations. How? See this example. The starting location is 1000 and since it is an integer array, int takes 4 bytes. So 1000, 1001, 1002, 1003 stored here. Then 1004 to 7 stored for 20, 1008 to 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1008 to 1011 is stored for 35, 1012 to 1015 is stored for 42 which is the A3 element which is the fourth element, and so on. So total memory occupied is 7 elements into 4 which is the byte space, so 28 bytes. Similarly, you can see this is B which is a character array of 6 elements. So B0, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5 are the reference for the elements and they include character values which are enclosed in single inverted commas. Since character takes 1 bytes, so we have 1000 as the starting address, 1001 as the second address, 1002 as the third address, 1003 as the fourth address, then 1004 and 1005. So total memory occupied is 6 elements into 1 byte which is 6 bytes. Now we are talking about the different types of arrays. There are different types of arrays: one-dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. The one-dimensional array are also the ones which we have already done. The one-dimensional array are also called as 1D array, and multi-dimensional array includes 2D array, 3D array, etc. So first of all, let's discuss one-dimensional array. So 1D array is the one which is having just a single row, what we have already created in the previous example. Example, int a 7 was an array of integer having 7 elements in a single row. So one dimensional array always have single row. All the elements of the array are stored in a single row. So A 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that's it. It has 0 to 6, all the 7 elements here. Alright. So if I want to put some values, I can put any random values: 10, 25, 32, 40 and let's say 50. So it's a one-dimensional array having a single row of 7 elements. Alright. Then we talk about the two-dimensional array. So multi-dimensional array is basically an array which have multiple elements. So a multi-dimensional array is basically an array having multiple elements and it has more than one subscript. Here, when we declare, it has a single subscript. It is represented by a single subscript. Okay. So more than one subscript means more than one. It means more than one dimension. Alright. So let's take an example. Integer array we are declaring. Let's say A 2 3. So the first subscript refers to the number of rows and the second subscript refers to the number of columns. So A23 is an array which is having 2 rows and 3 columns. So I'm drawing this here. So it is having 2 rows and 1, 2 and 3 columns. So I will just write down the subscripts here. This is for row numbers 0 and 1 and this is for column numbers 0, 1 and 2. So these are my rows and these are my columns. Alright. So what would be the name of this element? 0, 0, row 0, column 0. This is row 0, column 1, A01. This is row 0, column 2, A02. The first subscript will always refer to the row number and the second subscript will always refer to the column number. So I'm first of all leaving these squares so that you understand. Now the first subscript is the row number. What is row number? 1. What is row number? 1. What is row number? 1. Now we fill the column numbers. Column 0, column 1 and column 2. So this is an array of 2 dimension having, this is a 2D array. This is an example of a 2-dimensional array having 2 rows and 3 columns. Alright. So let me randomly put some values here. So let's say 10, 20, 5, 30, 40 and 50. So these are the values that I have put in. Alright. Now again I'll tell you that the multi-dimensional arrays can be 2D arrays or it could be the 3-dimensional array. Right now we have drawn 2D array. What I have shown you is an example of a 2D array. Now let me create a 3D array. So example for a 3D array. As the name suggests, it will have 3 subscripts. So let's say A is a 3D array having 2 rows, 3 columns, having 2 rows, 3 columns, and then I'm giving 3 here. So the third subscript tells how many times this subset of rows and columns is repeated. How many times this subset of rows and columns is repeated is told by this third dimension. So for example, I'll draw this. Now look very carefully. I'm drawing 2 rows and 3 columns the way I did earlier. But one thing I'm using here is how many times this subset of rows and columns is repeated. So 3 times it is getting repeated. 1 and then just a second. So this same is repeated, the same set. This is the first dimension, 2 rows. Look at this, how many rows? 2 rows and 3 columns. So row 0, row 1. This is column 0, column 1 and column 2. Now this is the third dimension. This is 0 times repetition. This is 1 time repetition. This is 2 times. So first repetition, second repetition and third repetition. So this, the shaded portion which I am showing you as yellow, all right, this portion, this is the first repetition of 2 rows and 3 columns. All right, this one, this yellow portion. Now if I show you the green portion, this green portion is the repetition of 2 rows and 3 columns second time. And let's take the red portion. This is the third time repetition of 2 rows and 3 columns. Do you understand this? So the way you have seen a cube, so a cube have 3 rows, 3 columns, and that is repeated, that set is repeated 3 times. So here it has 2 rows and 3 columns which are repeated 3 times. Am I clear? So this is an example of a third dimension. Now let me add their names. This is a 0 row, 0 column and 0 dimension. This is a 0 row, 0 column. I will write down again. This is a 0 row, 0 column and 0 is the repetition. Now this is 0 row, 1 column number 1 and 0 is the depth for the repetition. Then again this is 0 row, 1 column and column number 2 and 0 is the depth. So this is same, a 0 2 0, it's same. This cube is same. All right, now this cube is same, a 0 1 0. Can you see? It's the same cube. This is the same cube. Now this also is the same cube, so I can write down here a 0 0 and 0. Now if I talk about the second row, so a 0 1 0, a 0, if I talk about the second row, this is row number 1, column number 0 and dimension repetition 0. Again row number 1, column number 1, dimension repetition 0. Then again row number 1, column number, this is 2, column number 2 and dimension repetition is 0. Now this cube is same, so we will write down here also a 1 2 0. All right, now what would be this one? This would be a, this is row number again 0, column number 0, but the repeated dimension is 1. This is row number 0, column number 1, but repeated dimension is 1. This is row number, now these two will be same. Okay, so row number 0, column number 2, but repeated dimension is 1. Now let's move back to the last one. So this is row number 0, column number 0, but repeated dimension is 2. What would be this one? Row number 0, column number 1, but repeated dimension number will be 2. So this is same. So this would be row number 0, column number 2, but repeated subscript would be 0. Just a second. So row number 0, column number 2, and the repeated set of value is 2. Now let's talk about this one. This would be, again, this is row number 1, column number 2, and repeated set number is 3. What would be this one? This would be row number 1, alright, and this would be column number 2, but the repeated set is not 2, it is 1, because this is 0, 1, 2. Alright, so that's how we create a 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional arrays. Am I clear? So then how to go about searching for the programming? If I'm saying A 2 3, so I will move from 0 to 1, and J is used for column number, which will be 0, 1 and 2. It will move from 0 to 3. Alright, so what will be the loop? For I equal to 0, I is less than the row numbers, which is 2, I plus plus, and then for J equal to 0, J is less than 3, which is the column number, and J plus plus. And then we can access the values. Suppose we have the values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60, and we want to access that. So we can say printf %d and a gap for integer, and then A I J, and it will print the element. Since it is printing the element, so first time I is 0 and J is 0, A 0 0, then I is 0, J is 1, we print 20, then I is 0 and J is 2, we print 30. Now we have to move to the next line. So this loop is for the J loop. Now I will print f/n to move to the next line, and then I will close this loop. So again this loop is closed, I becomes 1. This loop is closed for I equal to 0. Again the loop will start, and I will become from 1, it will become from 0, it will become 1. So I is 1, I is 1, J is 0, it will print 40. I is 1, J is 1, it will print 50. I is 1, J is 2, it will print 60. And then the loop will finish. So I loop is for the number of rows, and J loop is for the number of columns. That's how we do the programming of it. For any doubts, you can always send your doubts in comments. Thank you so much.